Welcome to this video tutorial in which I will demonstrate the drafting of a made-to-measure hood pattern from out of the New Hood PDF manual. In this first part I will show the stages for producing the original hood block. In the second part I will adapt the hood to produce the snakehead hood and so produce a totally different design from which I will go on and convert into a pattern ready for constructing the hood out of rubber sheeting. The first stage is to draw a rectangle. This essentially forms 1/3 of our eventual pattern and concerns itself with the face, side and back of the head. This is why the underlying image of the face looks strange, as it is comprised of multiple viewpoints, but I include it here at the start so you have a better idea as to what this part of the pattern refers to. So the rectangle is drafted using two measurements, the head circumference and the facial features line. After this is drawn an angled line 4 to 8 that sets up the angle for the back of the head, and a 5 to 6 line that sets up the approximate area around which the features of the face will reside. Down the front edge we plot the locations of the various facial features. This initially includes the depth of the glabella, 9, the nose bridge, 9 to 10, and the length of the nose, 10 to 11. From these points we plot internally the position of the pupil, 13, and the furthest extent of the eye socket, 14. We also include the width of the nose from its tip to its nostril flare. After this we produce two rectangles. The width of one is the length of the jawline and the other is the depth from under the nose to the bottom of the chin. The height of the rectangles is irrelevant. We use these rectangles to help determine where the bottom of our chin needs to be. The long rectangle is pivoted on point 8 at the bottom of the head, while the smaller one is pivoted on point 18 at the base of the septum until the outer corners touch. The 18 to 19 line needs to be curved. As there is no easy way to measure curves in Photoshop, I simply roll the edge of the curve along the straight edge of the underlying grid and adjust the curve until it measures the length I am after. Along this curve I next plot the locations of the upper lip, lower lip and mouth opening. The mouth opening width needs to square in from the curved line, hence sometimes I use squares to help me obtain the right angle. I now plot in the depth of the bridge, followed by the cheek line. And with that, all plotting of points and guidelines is complete, and I can continue to draw the outline of the pattern section. In drawing the outline, all corners are square. This is simply a convenience that assists with alignment of the pattern to other sections yet to be drafted, and to help with the eventual construction. There is one exception to this rule, and that is at the bridge of the eye opening. Here the angle varies slightly from person to person, so I use a circle as a form of crude protractor to ensure I get the angles correct. The height of the eye opening is half its width. This will typically see the opening go as high as the eyebrow and as low as the cheekbone. With that, the first section of the pattern is complete. The next section to be drafted is the undernose. This covers the region from the septum to the nostril flare. It is very rare that I use this section to construct a hood, as it is incredibly fiddly and difficult to work with, but I do use it to help me alter the pattern to produce hundreds of different designs, with easier to construct nose regions. This I will demonstrate in the next video. The back and forth rolling of the nose section against the nose outlines of the face section is simply a method to check that the lengths of the undernose lines match those of the edges of the face that the undernose joins to. We are next going to concentrate on the crown of the head. This will consist of three sections: a front crown, a top crown, and a side crown, which eventually will be used to subdivide the face section into three parts, of which the middle part will then be amalgamated to the side crown. While new measurements are used to produce the front crown, such as the 32 to 34 line being 1/4 of the crown length from the forehead to the back of the head, the section is largely produced using divisions of measurements that already exist on the face section. Most other plotted points one sees are about producing certain angles. These produce a section that, once joined to the face section, help it to form two-dimensional flat shapes into a three-dimensional structure. Here I am trying to find the midpoint of the curved edge to see if it is different to point 37. In my case, it isn't. After drafting the front crown, I move on to the side crown. In order to successfully draw this piece, a series of plotted points is first made, so we may draw the front edge in relation to the side crown line 3 to 38. The halfway point along the head circumference line is found, and a line squared up from it that measures 1/4 of the crown length as measured from one side of the head to the other. This marks the zenith of the side crown section. The two lines that cut through the face section are style lines. These emanate downwards from either side of the side crown. Where they touch down upon the jawline and their exact orientation is totally up to you and can be changed at any time. These lines will later be used to subdivide the face section into smaller sections. For the top crown, a rectangle is drawn. The length is 3/4 of the front to back crown length, and its depth is 1/4 of the side to side crown length. This depth is altered so that it becomes a little longer at the back and narrower at the front. The shape is subdivided into 8 segments. Each segment is pivoted on its top edge. In this way, the original length along the top edge is maintained, but the bottom edge becomes shorter, and in so doing the shape becomes curved. With the bottom edge, we are after it becoming the same length as the long arching length of the side crown. When we redraw the outline of the new shape, all corners are square as with all other sections, but we want to ensure that the back edge bows out a little while the front edge bows in. We next take the shape through a series of truing up stages. Firstly, we want to find the midpoint of the top crown, but as the top edge is only 3/4 of the overall front to back crown length, we can use the quarter length of the front crown to help us find the midpoint. We then need to check that the front edge is equal in length to the upper half of the front crown. We also need to locate the balance marker of its bottom edge and that it equals in length the same as the arching edge of the side crown. And finally, that its back edge matches in the length the top edge of the back section. With all crown sections complete, we can move on to the neck region. This is comprised of 3 sections, a back, side and front. For this we need a variety of height measurements and circumference measurements. The first height, 0 to 1, is the back of the neck, from the 7th cervical vertebrae to the base of the skull. The next, 2 to 3, goes from the shoulder to just under the ear. The next, 5 to 6, goes from the halfway point in the hollow between the neck and the collarbone to the jawline, and the last, 9 to 11, is the front, from the jugular to the chin. The bottom edge is based on the base circumference of the neck, also known as the t-shirt line. After this, we find the location of the mid-neck line and produce a series of darts that account for its smaller circumference. After this, we then extend the length of the top edges, so overall it matches in length the jawline of the face section. When drawing the individual neck sections, we make sure that all corners are square and that the sides bow in to the dart points. After the back section, we draw the side section and make sure that its left-hand dart edge is a mirror reflection of the right-hand dart edge of the back section. We do similar for the front section, making sure all dart edges are mirror images of the ones they are to join to during construction. We have to true up the neck sections. First, we make sure that in producing a mirror version of the back neck section, that the top and bottom edges flow smoothly into one another. We do similar for the front section. We next check that the bottom edges run smoothly across all sections and make adjustments if needed. We do likewise for the top edges. It is a good idea to include balance markers at the dart midway points to help with alignment during construction. We next need to check to see if the top edges of the neck sections truly fit to the jawline of the face section and make adjustments if needed. In my case, I needed to make some slight changes to the jawline length and neck sections. Balance markers were also included at the points where the dart edges of the neck touch the jawline. The style lines of the face were repositioned now that the neck sections were complete. After this, I went around all sections and included further balance markers. These markers aren't simply helpful during construction, but can also be super helpful when later further adapting the pattern into a new design. All sections are now complete. I could go on and convert these sections into pattern templates that would include such things as seam allowances and methods of closure, reinforcement areas. But in this case I am leaving things so that in the next video I can show how we can play around and adapt the sections to produce radically different section pieces, but without losing the benefits of how the hood fits us.